She opens her eyes to fluorescent light and the smell of antiseptic. For a second, she doesn't know where she is. Then she remembers the sky. Blue, and then not blue, just wind, screaming wind, and a hole where the ceiling used to be. Sarah is alive. Row 5, window seat, is not. Machines beep somewhere near her head. Her chest is wrapped tight. Every breath costs something. A man in a windbreaker sits beside her hospital bed, notepad open on his knee. He introduces himself quietly, an investigator, here on behalf of the safety board. His voice is careful, the voice people use around something breakable. "Ma'am," he says gently, "I know this is hard. But I need you to tell me what happened yesterday. Before the flight." Sarah stares at the ceiling, a real one, solid, unbroken, painted a flat hospital white, and for a long moment she says nothing. She is thinking of another ceiling. Aluminum, riveted, ordinary. The one that used to be 18 feet long and is now somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, along with a woman named Clarabelle Lansing. Because she already knows the answer he's looking for. She knew it before she ever boarded that plane. She knew it the moment she signed her name to a piece of paper 24 hours earlier. "Yesterday," Sarah says slowly, "I was working." Her eyes drift to the window. Outside, the sky is an ordinary, indifferent blue, the same color it was yesterday morning, the same color it was at 24,000 feet when everything came apart. She wonders if she will ever look at a clear sky again without flinching. "Take your time," the investigator says. She almost laughs. There is no version of this story that takes time. It happened fast, the inspection, the decision, the flight, the tear. 24 hours from a hangar floor to a hospital bed. She has had a lifetime to think it over and only a single day to live it. "No," she says. "I'll tell you now. While I still can." The day before, Sarah is exactly where she's supposed to be, on her knees on a concrete hangar floor at Honolulu International, flashlight in hand, running her fingers along a lap joint on the belly of a Boeing 737. The hangar smells like jet fuel and hydraulic fluid. Somewhere behind her, a mechanic is whistling off-key. She's an inspector for Aloha Airlines. 9 years on the job, most of them spent exactly like this, on her back or her knees, checking the parts of an airplane passengers never think about. She knows this aircraft, tail number, maintenance history, every rivet line, better than she knows her own car. And she knows something else. This particular airplane flies short island hops, over and over, all day. Hilo to Honolulu. Honolulu to Maui. Up and down, pressurize, depressurize, pressurize again. Some jets in this fleet have logged more takeoffs and landings than almost any aircraft in the world. The airframe isn't old in years. It's old in cycles. And cycles are what matter. Her light catches something. A hairline. Barely visible, a thread of a shadow along the seam. She leans closer. Not one. Several. A row of small fatigue cracks, faint as pencil marks, tracing the joint where two sheets of aluminum skin overlap. She pulls out her measuring tape, her loop, checks the length of each crack against the tolerance chart taped inside her clipboard. Individually, each one falls within limits. Together, in a row like this, they tell a different story, one about metal that has bent and flexed and bent again, 10,000 times, until it simply grows tired of holding itself together. Her stomach tightens. She's seen this pattern in a bulletin before. Fatigue cracking, lap joint, older 737s. She knows what it can mean if it spreads. She writes it up. Cracks noted, she says to her supervisor, findings logged, showing him the photos. Her supervisor doesn't even sit down. He glances at the images on her clipboard, waves a hand like he's brushing away a fly. Hairlines. They're within tolerance. Every bird in this fleet has them at this point. You ground this one, we ground half the schedule tomorrow, and I get another call from corporate. I think it needs a deeper look, Sarah says. Maybe pull the fleet campaign card, cross-check the cycle count against the bulletin. Mark it minor, he says, already turning away. Sign it off. We've got flights in the morning, Sarah. This isn't the hill. And if it spreads? He stops. Turns back just enough to meet her eyes. Then it'll show up on the next inspection. That's what the schedule is for. She stands there a second too long, flashlight still warm in her hand, the photograph of those hairline cracks still glowing faintly on the little screen. She thinks about her mortgage. She thinks about the 2 other inspectors let go last quarter, when the company said maintenance costs were unsustainable. She thinks about how tired everyone is of being the department that grounds airplanes and costs money. She signs the form. Minor. Within limits. Aircraft airworthy. Her own signature, small and neat, at the bottom of a page that will outlive her decision by exactly 1 day. That night she doesn't sleep well. She tells herself it's nothing. Every inspector second guesses a call sometimes. That's the job. In the morning, she has a flight to catch, Hilo to Honolulu, to see her sister. Off duty, off the clock, just a passenger like anyone else. She doesn't think twice about which aircraft it is until she's walking down the jet bridge and glances at the tail number. Her stomach drops for just a second. Then she tells herself, it's fine. It passed inspection. You passed it. She takes her seat. Row 5. Window. Boarding finishes. Doors close. Engines spin up. The climb is smooth. Ordinary. Coffee carts rattle down the aisle. Flight attendant Clarabelle Lansing moves through the cabin with the easy rhythm of someone who has done this 10,000 times, checking seatbelts, trading a joke with a regular. 24,000 feet. A sound. Not loud at first, a pop, then a tearing groan, metal complaining against itself. Sarah's hand freezes on her coffee cup. She knows that sound. She heard it in her sleep last night. Then the sky opens. 18 feet of fuselage roof rips away in an instant. Wind. Deafening, physical wind, a fist of air slamming through the cabin. Oxygen masks drop. Insulation and debris fly. Sarah's seat back in front of her is simply gone, torn into the sky along with a section of the ceiling above row 5. Papers. Shoes. A magazine, spinning end over end into blue nothing. The cabin, which a second ago held 100 small ordinary sounds, coffee pouring, someone laughing, a baby fussing 2 rows back, now holds only wind, and the wind is the only sound left in the world. She grips the armrests. Screams are swallowed by the roar. Clarabelle Lansing is gone. Pulled from the cabin in an instant, out into 300 miles per hour of open sky, 24,000 feet above the Pacific. She is never found. The plane bucks and shudders. Captain Robert Skornsteimer and his first officer fight the controls through violent vibration, a jet with no roof, structural integrity in question with every second. They begin an emergency descent toward Kahului Airport on Maui. 9 minutes. 9 minutes between the roof tearing away and the wheels touching pavement. Sarah doesn't remember most of them. She remembers wind. She remembers the ocean below, unbroken, glittering, uncaring. She remembers thinking, I signed the form. The aircraft lands. Hard, but it lands. 89 people are injured. One person, Clarabelle Lansing, is lost. Sarah survives. Fractured vertebrae, a collapsed lung, cuts from flying debris. She is alive because of a matter of feet, because the tears stopped just short of her row, because Clarabelle was standing where Sarah was sitting. The investigator waits. Sarah finally speaks. I inspected that aircraft yesterday, she says. I found the cracks. I found them myself. He stops writing. Looks up. I marked them minor, she says. My supervisor told me to. He said if I grounded it, we'd lose half tomorrow's schedule. The company had been cutting inspectors for months. Cutting corners on the older birds because replacing them costs money the airline said it didn't have. Her voice doesn't rise. It doesn't need to. I signed the form, she says. I signed off on the very aircraft that almost killed me. And it did kill her. She says Clarabelle Lansing's name carefully, like it might break something further to say it wrong. She didn't do anything wrong, Sarah says. She was just doing her job. Same as me. Except my mistake was on paper, and hers cost her everything. The investigator asks for names. Sarah gives them. Her supervisor. The pressure from above him, a CEO who told regional managers, in a meeting she wasn't even supposed to hear about, that the aging fleet was flying fine and safety delays were unacceptable for an airline our size. You understand what you're telling me, the investigator says quietly. This becomes part of the official record. I understand, Sarah says. I want it to be part of the record. I don't want the next inspector standing where I stood yesterday to think there's an easier way through this. He asks if she wants a lawyer present before she says more. She shakes her head. I've had enough people tell me what's easier, she says. I'd like to just tell the truth for once. She doesn't flinch from any of it. In the months that follow, Sarah testifies before investigators piecing together how a jet with 89,090 flight cycles, the highest ever recorded for a commercial aircraft to that point, had cracks seen and downgraded, inspection after inspection, across its service life, by inspector after inspector, each one making a small, defensible, understandable decision that added up, over years, to something none of them could defend at all. Hers isn't the only signature on record. It's simply the one she can no longer live beside in silence, the one she wrote with her own hand less than a day before the roof came off. She loses her job. The airline distances itself from her, quietly, the way companies do, no public statement, just a slow withdrawal, calls that stop being returned, a severance letter instead of a phone call. Colleagues stop calling. Some, later, will call her a whistleblower, and say it with something like respect. Others will call her something else entirely. In break rooms and meetings she is no longer invited into, because it is easier to be angry at the person who spoke than at the system that made speaking necessary. But her testimony, alongside others, becomes part of a reckoning. Aging aircraft inspection standards are rewritten. Cycle-based fatigue monitoring becomes mandatory, not optional. Inspectors are given protections against exactly the kind of pressure Sarah describes, protections that didn't exist before Flight 243, and that exist, in part, because a woman who survived it refused to protect the people who told her to look away. It doesn't undo anything. She knows that. It never will. Clarabelle Lansing's body was never recovered from the Pacific. There is a memorial. There is a name on a plaque. There is not a grave. Every April 28, Sarah drives to the shore. Not because she thinks the ocean will give anything back. She knows better than that by now. She thinks, sometimes, about the physics of it, the arithmetic of who lives and who doesn't. A few feet of aisle. A few seconds of timing. Clarabelle happened to be standing exactly where the tier reached, Sarah happened to be sitting exactly where it stopped. There is no meaning in that. She has looked for one for years and found only distance, only ocean, only the particular cruelty of an accident that doesn't choose its victims for any reason at all. She stands there because someone should. Because the woman who was where she should have been deserves more than silence from the one person who knows exactly why that morning went the way it did. Sarah marked the cracks minor. She was wrong. She has spent every year since trying to make sure no one else signs their name to that same mistake, testifying at hearings, writing letters to regulators, telling her story to rooms full of inspectors half her age who still feel the same pressure she once felt, the same quiet math between a paycheck and a piece of paper. Some of them listen. Some of them don't, not yet, not until they're standing where she once stood, flashlight in hand, staring at a hairline crack and a clock ticking toward morning. She still looks at the water every April. Still watching for something she knows isn't coming back, a shape in the waves, a scrap of blue uniform, anything at all. Still, she looks.